almost had an interesting conversation that we didn't capture. Nani, I didn't put you in the bathroom with Henry. I'm sorry.
He's being so good.
He is. He's being a doll. Well, one of the questions that I had asked off camera was getting rid of that loop. But when I lived in a farmhouse many years ago, and I hated it there. It was a bad feeling. But there was something in that house. And what would happen is I'd be upstairs and I'd hear it downstairs.
Mm.
I'd be downstairs and I'd hear walking upstairs. My cat sat at the top of the stairs, and I mean, it gave me the creeps. I did not like it. And I remember telling my grandma, who was just the most Christian woman I ever knew. She would be at our bedside praying for us at night.
Mm.
Well, I asked her, what do you do with this? And she labeled it as evil.
Mm. People always label stuff with evil as evil when they don't understand
When they're
it.
afraid.
When they're afraid of it, yeah. But, go ahead.
Well, what she told me to do was to go through every room of the house and say, in the name of Jesus Christ, get out.
Mm. And did you do
And
that?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't...
And that scared me even more, to be quite honest with you.
You know what,
Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, God. Whoa.
Well, here, I'll give you my, and certainly not, but I don't know that you would have had to say in the name of anything.
Uh-huh.
I think what you did is you set your intention and said, you're not welcome here. And mostly, just like somebody who shows up at a party and the host says, you're not welcome here, most of them, even crummy party crashers will usually be. Some really, really crummy party crashers might not.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm not saying that would work for 100% of the I don't know what you want to call them, spirits, entities. It could be any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly nobody likes to stick around in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, by the way, doesn't sound like an energy loop.
Mm-hmm.
It actually sounds like an entity of some sort.
It was
A being of some
scary.
sort that was hanging out in that house.
Yeah. I'm glad I moved.
Yeah.
Anyway, then there's the other option. There are places I wouldn't live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just a couple times I have been to places where I have actually left because it was too uncomfortable for me to stay twice in my life. So I mean, it's not a common thing, but
And now, speaking of that, and you were a probation officer.
yeah.
What was that like with some of the dangerous people? Could you kind of climb into them, or did you want to?
Were you this is going to make me sound like Pollyanna, but I'm going to say it anyway. Certainly, some of the I worked with adult probation, so the worst of the worst. They always had this normal person thing going for them too. I mean, so it depended on where you focused on, what you saw with that person. That doesn't mean I liked them all, and it certainly doesn't mean I take them home or trust them. But, it wasn't like I ever met someone who was pure evil. They always had, so part of my, maybe adaptation to it was to try to find, to focus on that piece that I was willing to tolerate. Mm-hmm. The other piece with me, and it feels like cheating. It felt like cheating when I was probation officer. I knew stuff about them. I didn't have to do as much work as the people my other coworkers, because I just, I already know that about you. You're lying now. I laugh about it. Whoa. Don't lie to me. I know you lied to me. And then I go, yeah, I lied to you. I mean, it worked okay.
That must have really been great as an attorney.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, except, when your clients lie to you, it's really, because what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah,
You're lying about that too. No, I got to go, So,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Awkward.
Awkward,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Well, speaking of awkward, what is do you at all? I know that you teach the classes on how to awaken your own intuition and whatnot. But do you read for people now? Or?
I don't anymore. Well, I do and I don't. I don't nearly as much as I used to. I don't do it. I just am too busy.
Sure.
So I did for many, many, many years, 20-some years, but I don't anymore.
What happens when you came across something that person probably wasn't going to want to hear? How do you handle that?
Well, there's usually a kind way to say everything. So it doesn't happen often, but I do have, I mean, that's one of the things I teach my students, it's better to be kind than to be correct. What I mean by that is that if you have something, if you know something, you know it's going to hurt the person, just to prove that you were right, that's not your job. It's not, and so there are some things that I might get that I would not say. And people ask me that all the time. So tell me everything. I go, well, you know, I'm not intentionally going to try to hide something from you, but I'm not going to do something. I'm not going to tell you something that I think would hurt you.
And what
my
does
rule.
that do to you? What, can you process that and make that go away so that you don't, let's say there might be something that you know is going to be harmful to someone, and it just is. How do you separate that so you don't?
Yeah, I would think that can be take quite a toll.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I saw something that I thought was going to be harmful for you, I would say, be careful about this or that or the other thing. You know, for example, I had a woman who came in who had breast cancer, and I saw that, she didn't know it. And so I said to her, I really think you need to go to the doctor and have that checked out, which I think is a fair thing.
Sure,
yeah.
Now, what I didn't say is, oh my God, you know, you might be dying. I mean, there's a really different way of saying, right, you know, and she called me later and she said, you know, I did, and I went to the doctor, I do, and they got it, and thank you very much. And then the other piece of it is the future's not set in stone. So nobody can tell you what's going to happen.
For
Because
sure.
by their telling you, it changes what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's just not, you know, so everybody who calls me and says, what day am I going to get married on? And I go, well, first you have to leave the house.
That's helpful.
So I mean, it isn't like looking forward in a book and saying this is written in stone and it can't be changed. Life can always